Have you ever experienced starting a new project, or maybe having the desire to change something in your life, quite fundamental maybe, like beginning a new job or building a business, or I don't know, maybe your relationship doesn't work so well and you wanted to shift and change something in yourself, or maybe starting a new movement practice or some health related change. And at the beginning you're quite inspired about that change and you take first action, maybe a little momentum is building, but then you have this kind of day two experience where something happens in your life and you stop that new practice, you stop that new direction, you don't take any further action, you rather go back into life as it routinely flows, and doesn't need you to change a lot, doesn't need you to be aware, let's say. And maybe you take a break, longer or shorter, a few weeks, maybe just a few days, or maybe like me recently, for a few months actually. And then at some point the desire wakes up again because maybe your nervous system calms down again. The situation finds peace somehow for you, and you want to get back into that. And in that moment, you might feel this shame of not having followed through. This shame of, oh, I failed. I'm not good enough for this, maybe. Or what would people think of me? Because maybe you, in this state of being inspired about the new idea, the new direction, you told people and they cheered you on maybe, and you maybe spoke about your desires and your ideas for the future and what would happen, and maybe even stated a commitment that you will do this now. But now you haven't, and you face the same people. And there is maybe a sense of shame, maybe a sense of disintegrity inside yourself, where you know for yourself that you have not been your word, you have not done the thing you said you would do. And there were reasons for that, but there's this sense of shame. And when I say shame, how I understand it is a sense of there's something wrong with me, fundamentally, not just in what I take action in, but in me, in my state of being as a person. There is something wrong because I obviously can't do what I say I would. So there's something wrong with my beingness, there's something wrong with maybe my personality, my identity. So it's almost like a very deeply internalized critique and a mean voice inside yourself that speaks to the part of you that is seemingly unchangeable. If that is the case, if you experience that, you're not alone. Because I have recently, and I like to tell that story. And you find it exactly here on this channel. I began, let's say, a YouTube project, and I named this channel, or not I named the channel, I described the channel as the 1 year follow-through plan, the 1 year follow-through plan. And my idea, my inspired commitment, which has not been so committed after all, maybe, was that I want to post consistently on YouTube. I did not define how often, but I wanted to show that I can show up, make videos, and build a business and an income stream on the back of YouTube. And I did not really know yet what that would be, but I had in mind to call it this 1 year follow-through plan, because a topic, and you will find that in many videos, if you look on the videos I posted, in my life a topic has a lot been so-called procrastination, or having wishes, having ideas, having desires, but not taking action on the things that I say I want. So I created this channel with this idea. And I started making videos, and a few of them had really good views for a beginning channel, I would say. But then it happened that in June I had a 14-year-old dog. He had a lot of health problems, and I decided that it would be best for him to help him fall asleep for good and euthanize him. So basically my dog died, and that was such an emotional impact in that moment, or in that period of time, that it occupied me so much that I did not feel in the right mood, in the right place to continue something else. And while I said I would be honest on that channel, even about the things that don't work, it did not feel right for me to speak about that and bring that as a reason to not move forward. So I let it slip. I started that in May. Beginning of June, it crystallized that he would not live much longer. And I stopped at beginning of June. I think in that period, the last video was on the 3rd of June. So I stopped it. And then almost 6 months, I guess, went by. And now in December, I began again making videos. And I looked at this channel and the promise in a way that I made. And honestly, I made the promise because it is catchy. Like if you can watch someone follow through on something that is so difficult, this was procrastination, it almost implied that, at least for me it did, in how I thought I need to prove my value and prove my worth with it, is that I succeed. But if I would be having difficulties and failing, like not being able to follow through, still to talk about that felt like failure, so I didn't. And I rather retreated, I went silent. I mean, not that I made any promise to anybody, it was more to myself, but appearing like that in the public was different, and I did not like that, I did not want that. And I see now that the positioning of that channel put me in a box of, in my internal mind frame, I needed to succeed, but if I did not succeed, I faced my own shame of the kind of procrastination byproduct, this sense of powerlessness and the sense of worthlessness in a way, that I felt with many other projects years before. So instead of just leaning into the genuine honesty, I did not, and I thought I had to be successful and show success, and otherwise it would not be interesting or so. And now I feel a bit more distance, something relaxed in me, and I find it is more important to speak about the humanness of that, because this theme of procrastinating, I mean, it's almost in the way that we speak about that, it sounds like we are failing as a human being. And that opens up a nuanced box of perspective to look at, I think, because one way, of course, is to see procrastination as almost a pathology. Like there's something wrong with you because you don't do what you say you would. And at the same time, there's always a story behind that. Everything that we experience as a symptom has a gift and a wrapping with it, a parcel with it, a package that can be unfolded, and behind that there's something that moves us to exactly that action or inaction. So there's reasons behind that, and it maybe has to do with realizing you're not the kind of person that can do that easily, or maybe it is also something to cultivate because there's a lack of skill. And what happened also is that human life is messy. Human life is complex. And it's not just you set your mind on a goal and come heaven or hell, you just take the action no matter what else happens. I mean, I'm not wired that way. Congratulations to the people who are like that, who can just compartmentalize life like that. I'm not one of them. I'm really not. And I'm often affected by things, be it my own health, if something is not feeling so well, maybe I worry about that. Happened recently also. Or maybe there's something else happens where relationally I am impacted by something, like in this case, the grief of loss. And all that comes with caring for somebody you actually care about. and taking like health care for them, and maybe making the decision that it's better for them to not live any longer, like in this case with my dog. Whatever your situation might be, maybe it's very different, but there are reasons there, and I want to speak to the humanity of that, the messiness of that, because the experience we have as humans are individual, they're very subjective, and they are valid. And it depends a bit how we put the frame around that. Like if we say, well, it's all about goals and you have to just do it, then you're trying to mentally force something that has a deeper emotional truth, deeper psychological weight. And you cannot push past that maybe. Or you maybe can for a certain time, but at some point you need to catch up with yourself. So if you feel that shame, just to give that permission slip, I mean, not that you need a permission slip, but to tell you it's okay, that is human. And it's totally valid what you feel. And I tell that myself too, because I thought there's this shame there of unworthiness, of, oh, I should not attempt that, and I need to be careful what to promise and put myself in. It's true also. Why would I do that? It's not an integrity for me. But to suddenly start to think and talk to myself meanly, that is not right. That is not care for myself, which I believe needs to come first if we want to live a wholesome human life as an individual. And what I spotted there is that the shame is unnecessary. And it's not that I'm a failure for not being able to follow through, like in my case. What is there, what I see is now coming back to that, that in itself is already showing a kind of consistency. Maybe not the ones that gets me to the goal faster, but it's a consistency that shows I care about something. And in time, in the timing that is right for me, giving everything else that happens in my life, it's something I want to come back to because there's something that means something to me. And if I doubt that, if I speak badly about myself internally, if I have this little bad creature that screeches in the back of my mind and talks shit about myself, then what is happening is I don't trust myself. And maybe I make the voices of other people in my life, or something I have been conditioned by over the decades or years, depending how old you are, I make that mean more than the caring voice inside myself that says, it makes so much sense that you stopped doing that for a while. It was not important to you. And that's okay. Because we can have our own backs, you know. We can have our own backs in failing to do the things we said we would do, and still like and care and support ourselves, have our own backs. It's nothing we need other people for. It's nice to have that, but if we don't have that caring voice inside, we just kick ourselves out of whack every time something happens like that. And then a narrative builds inside that kind of crystallizes into what we perceive as an identity. I am suddenly someone who's procrastinating on everything. It's not true. You just don't trust the experience maybe that you have. I might not trust my experience, that it's not the time yet for that. Or maybe it will not be. But I might come back to that. So yeah, I wanted to record this because it's an important conversation to have when it comes to any creative endeavor coupled with a meaningful change in life, change of direction. And I created this one video, the hidden cost of procrastination that no one warns you about. I mean, IP title, I know. But I had quite a lot of views, given that I had not even 40 subscribers on this channel for that time, but I had 500 views on it. And quite some comments also. And people resonated with that, and I noticed there's a theme, maybe especially for men, because there's a topic, there's a theme for this masculinity and the proactivity and the staying with something and following through on things, that is also in a masculine energy quality, the ability to take action and move. And I think in the cultural narrative that we live in, a procrastinator is usually looked down upon. And I wonder if it's even necessary to call ourselves procrastinator, but rather look at, okay, I'm, like in my case, I have these phases when I start something new. I get very excited, I go deep into that, I research, I build up a lot of knowledge. But as soon as it comes to taking action on the thing, I'm personally overwhelmed with the almost infinity of possibility of how you could go about that. Because in my mind, it's like, I want to do it right. Don't know right in whatever regard, like for whom right? But I want to do it right. And then there is almost this paralysis of choice, because there's so many things to choose from to make something concrete that I can take action on. Because action is concrete, action is not abstract. And that is often, or has been often in the past, where I did not follow through. And then I've maybe found something else in the hopes that somehow this resistance cycle, this dynamic, will not be there in the other idea. And then I think, it feels like it's a better idea. But yeah, this is a whole dynamic that could be worth another video or another look at. But I wanted to point this one thing, like we might feel shame for not following through, of not doing something and coming back later to it, or maybe cycling around it. I have been cycling around building a business for myself, I don't know, since 2010 or so. It's a really long time. And it feels like having time wasted. And honestly, in me, there's a fear of, I'm 41 now. I have 2 kids, they're still young, but being older and being stuck in this job that I don't fancy too much. It pays the bills, but I'm not super excited about it. But there is an urgency inside of me to feel like I'm getting older. I don't feel like I'm old, I'm actually feeling young. But I notice I get older, and there are things I'm still wanting. And also there is some patterns, some dynamic active in me whenever it comes to building an income stream for myself. I'm doing something on my own that I own, that is mine, that I create every day again. Where I don't go to a job and it's kind of secure or so, where people tell me what to do, but something that came out of me. There's a joy in that. And I have this fear that at some point, maybe in 20 years, I will look back and I'm still stuck on the same shit. And I still didn't do it. There's a fear about that. And I also want to give my children the joy that I see in them now, especially my older child, who loves to create without any fear of failing or so, without any fear of maybe making the wrong choice or so. She's actually my role model at this point. I'm fearing that I cannot guide them in the world when they are out of childhood, where they could maybe do something on their own and just experiment and and fail and get up again, learn and try something else, and feeling alive in this adventure of I can make things just because I can, and I don't have to give an F about what other people think about that. And if I want to do something that is not just artistic for myself, but I want to build a business where there has to be a recognition of value for a client, a customer, someone that I want to have a transactional relationship with when it comes to business, for example, where I receive money for a service or for a product. Of course, I need to care about them, but I can lead with what lives inside of me. And this joy that I see in them, I'm afraid that I will not live that out in 10 years, in 20 years. So for me, this is a tension field, but I want to get back to that. And I do get back to that every time and time again. And it is frustrating to notice when, again, I failed. And it feels good to come back again. So I think I just want to say, don't be ashamed of yourself. Trust your cycles, trust your timing, trust yourself. And if you have something inside of you, don't give up on it, just like that. Give it space. Maybe it needs its own time. Maybe you need to develop a different relationship with it where you bring more care to it. And maybe it's sometimes time to say goodbye to things that take up too much space in our life, that we don't want in it anymore. Like an old job or so. And so far what I've learned is there is a step that faces fear, and it might look different for people. And actually that fear is not, maybe it's fear, but it's rather something the mind cannot know. And what we need to embrace is life contains uncertainty. We need a certain certainty to feel safe in life for the nervous system. But there is another kind of uncertainty that we also need, that we need to feel alive, because otherwise we would be bored out of our skin, bored out of our mind. And I'm currently learning to cultivate a relationship with this uncertainty. And I can tell you, I don't like it. And I also sense that it's a hell of a lot of fun if you don't mind it so much, if you can embrace it as part of life. Yeah. So don't be ashamed, trust yourself, and have a look at this uncertainty thing. I think there's maybe close with that, because I also makes me think this phrase. Often we overestimate what we can do in a day or a week, but we also underestimate what we can accomplish in a year or in 10 years. So much life experience is possible there. And it's not about getting it right. Right for whom? And what I've found is, maybe the question is not what is the right thing to do, but rather for me the valid question is, the helpful question is, what makes me come alive right now? Because I know about me, and it might be different for you. I'm very much in the moment. I'm not very good at long-term planning or committing emotionally to something on a long-term base. It's not good for me. I flow very much with the moment, and I feel comfortable that way. And therefore the question, what's alive for me right now? What would be most alive to do now? While combining that with a certain commitment for something that I do want, even though sometimes I don't feel like it. There's something to combine there and to connect. But this question is valid. What makes me come alive? Or what makes me come 1% more alive right now? Is it what I think I have to do, or is it that thing that I hope to avoid? Yeah, I wanted to share that. That's what's going on. And in that sense, having stopped that channel, I'm coming back to it now from a more relaxed perspective. I don't want to perform. I'm more about sharing from inside my experience as my days, my weeks unfold. And I don't want to perform for a story, for a narrative, so it gets clicks. I mean, I get it, that TV series are interesting. But what I find more interesting than a well-constructed storyline is real humans in real life. And the questions of how to navigate the complexity and the nuanceness of what it means to be human and to live and to have all these doubts and to still have our own backs in that. Yeah. So I guess if you're up for this kind of considerations, if you're up for this kind of depth, it might be the right place to check in if there's a new video. I welcome you, and at least this is what I will be sharing about, first and foremost for myself, and if it helps someone, you or someone else, I'm happy about that. And I know I need to express myself. Didn't think of that so much before, but I love that. I need to speak in order to know myself better. All right, I stop now. wish you a wonderful day. And if you like to share anything, something that resonated with you or your experience, also feel free to do that in the comments. And I will respond to that. Have a nice day.